I would like to thank all of you and our co-sponsors for the special assistance they have provided with the organization, signage, advertising, setup, and general promotion of this event. The Greater Irving Las Colinas Chapter Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Las Colinas Association, the City of Irving, and ICTN. I would like to introduce Janice Schieffer, President of the Collin County League of Women Voters and a former Texas State Board member, who will be this evening's moderator.
Thank you all for inviting me here. Is the microphone working okay? Okay, great. I understand we're going to be doing a few experimental things tonight, so please bear with us if we have to shuffle around a little bit. First of all, I'm sure most of you know that the League is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, but we do not support a particular candidate or party. Please note that we also publish an online voter's guide. You can see it at www.vote411.org, and I think your program has some information about that. We're going to begin tonight with the Irving School Board of Trustee candidates. The elections in Carrollton Farmers Branch and Coppell were canceled because there was no opposition to the incumbents. Just a reminder about the Irving candidates. District 3 candidate Larry Stipes has no opponent and will not appear on the ballot. On the program, Mr. Stipes is incorrectly identified as the candidate in District 1 instead of District 3. The candidates in District 4 are participating tonight. Tonight's questions, and this is the experimental part, will be asked directly by members of the audience, so they'll be coming up to the microphone to ask their own questions. If you're interested in asking a question, please check in with one of the League members at the back of the room. Although all of the Irving School Board districts are single-member districts, each question should be of concern to all citizens and about the welfare of the schools and our children, and not directed to any particular candidate. Tonight, candidates will have 1 minute each to make an opening statement and 1 minute each to respond to the questions. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer each question. That's why we ask you to make it a general question that applies to all candidates and not a single one. After we hear from the ISD candidates, we'll take a break and have the City Council candidates come to the platform. Please silence your cell phones, and please do not text during the forum. Candidates, please be courteous, speak into the mic, and don't forget to turn the mic off when you're finished so we don't hear anything that you don't want us to hear. The candidates tonight are Dinesh Mali and Sanko Priolo. We're going to begin with the opening statements, 1 minute each. We have a timekeeper in the audience who has some signs, is that right? To tell you when you have 30 seconds left or when time to stop. So the first candidate will be Dinesh Mali.
My name is Dinesh Mali. I would like to request your vote for Irving ISD Place 4. I'm a mechanical engineer with a construction industry background for 35 years. I moved to Irving in 2002, and I've been doing a voluntary work in any organization I can find my time available to it, including City of Irving Park and Rec, City of Irving MLK program, and City of Irving Green Advisory Board. I have participated in strategic planning committee in 2013, and I have formulated the program which is implemented now. And we also would like to encourage the Spanish-speaking people to take advantage of the ESL classes, and they can learn English through the ISD, and they also help the children. Thank you.
Mr. Priolo.
Hi, my name is Sanko Priolo. I'm a 29-year resident of Irving. My children all have gone through the Irving Independent School District. I've been an avid volunteer and contributor to the district throughout my many years here, serving 12 years on the District Improvement Committee, helping to bring forth the Academy of Irving Independent School District, which is commonly known now as the Jackie Singley Academy of Irving ISD. The current grading policy, the current grading procedure that the district is working under at this time is something that I was on the committee that helped to bring forth that particular item. I have an interest in serving because I want to see this district move forward and become more global to make all the students in the district become bilingual as well as be prepared for a global environment. Thank you.
Okay, now it's fun time. All the people who signed up to ask questions of the ISD candidates, please come up to the front row, and I'll get a list of you and call you by name. When you start your question, please give your name and address, and I believe you'll have 1 minute to ask your question. Okay. Well, the three persons, Barbara Doyle, Paulette Austin, and I think it's Manuel Benitez. Please come to the front row. Okay, while they're coming up, Ms. Doyle, let's start with you.
Okay, this is a quick question, but something that's become a little obvious. I'm Barbara Doyle, and I live on Devonshire Court in Irving, and I have for 33 years. What impact do all of the new charter schools have on our school district?
Okay, we're going to alternate on who goes first on this. So, Mr. Priolo, you'll go first. You'll have 1 minute.
Okay, the impact on charter schools are more like competitive competition to public schools. Charter schools are public schools. The funding for charter schools comes from the exact same funding as public schools. When you ask the question, what is the impact that it has, it provides a choice. That's the impact, is that there is a choice. One's not better than the other unless we make it that way. I believe that the public school system within the ISD can be equal or superior to the charter school programs, but it takes us to make them that way. Charter schools have the ability to turn away kids. Public schools do not. Charter schools have a selective process. Public schools have, if you live in the district, in that area, you have the opportunity to be educated by the school that the public school is in that area. Thank you.
Mr. Mali?
I welcome the competition of the charter school because we believe our public school will excel with this strategic planning committee program that we have implemented. Of course, people have a choice, and I believe in a choice, but I think we should present ourselves by giving them a choice whether they can educate themselves with a vocational guidance school and become a workforce if they don't want to go to college. If they want to go to universities, we give them a choice to go there. As far as the implementing the program, we would like to give them a choice. Come to our school district and tell us what we are not doing for you. Or if you live in a district, we're going to be educating you anyway. But our program at this moment is to excel our school district in a level so we can compete with the other challenges.
Thank you. Now we'll have our second question. Please state your name and address.
Okay, it's Paulette Austin, and I live in Irving. I just wanted to know your views on testing of the students, the frequency of the tests, and whether you feel it is important so the Texas students can be gauged against other states. Your views on testing.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Mali.
Well, I grew up in India, and we always have a testing quarterly, half year, 3/4, and yearly. Again, we have to, as a student, we have to excel ourselves to do very good score so we can be recognized and we can be promoted to the next level. In this situation, testing is there, but the thing is teachers are more involved in teaching the material. The teachers are more cultivating the students into their future, and the teachers are more helping them to shape their dream to what they want to become. Thank you.
Mr. Priolo?
My understanding of that question is that she's talking about standardized testing like the STAR test. My understanding of that question is that she's talking about the standardized testing like the STAR test. And my thought on that is, I believe that you should have a test that grades what a student knows, but it shouldn't be a pass-fail test. It should be a test that says, okay, I'm an 8th grade student, I'm taking this test, and the test should measure if that person is on the 6th grade level or if that person is on a 10th grade level. That's the type of test that we need. We don't need a STAR test. We don't need a test that says, do you know this material? Because then teachers start teaching to test, and you end up with students who can pass a test, but nothing beyond that. And I don't think that that's right. Thank you.
Do we have Mr. Benitez to ask the third question?
Good evening. My name is Manuel Benavides, and I reside at 2108 Meadow Glen. And my question to you two gentlemen is, if you get elected as school board member, and also looking at your independent school district being the majority Hispanic, and looking at Nemitz, where the standing is now, that the state is focusing more on their whole operation, how would you improve or have ideas on how to go forward on the situation that it is facing your independent school district?
Are you talking about for language?
Well, in general, now you want to for me to be more specific, okay, you have a dual language majority, which is mainly English. Now, how would you improve the education curriculum for the school district to go to the next level? Since, using an example, look at Nemitz right now, it's at the bottom, and it's not going anywhere. The state is looking how to improve the situation. How will you make suggestions in order for the district to start making changes so this education level can go to the level it's supposed to be?
Okay. That answer is twofold.
Well,
Go ahead.
the first one was the question. The other one was just clarification of the first question, so just one question.
Right, I got it. The answer is going to be basically twofold. One is by two different programs. One, I believe that every student in the district should end up being bilingual by the time they graduate from high school. That is a wholehearted position that I stand on that. Every student should be bilingual. If a student comes into the district and they speak Spanish, by the time they graduate from the district, they should be bilingual Spanish and English. But also, a student that's born here, grew up here, only city they ever known, they should be bilingual as well. So I want to implement some sort of programs that help to even that slate. Now, specifically to what you were saying about what are you going to do to help new immigrant students to the district? We have a lot of programs that's out there right now to do that. And we can look at them and enhance them, but we cannot focus on any one particular group. It's about all the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mali.
Well, I learned 4 languages when I graduated from high school. To me, our school district is promoting ESL for the people who do not speak English, whether they are Spanish people, whether they are non-Spanish people, or Korean people, or Indian people of anyone. What the school is doing now is trying to promote parents to become more and more versatile in English so they can help the kids to do their homework. Also, the thing is, if you want to learn any other language, you can always take a classes during the school year. As far as Spanish people, we would say they don't just have to learn one language. They can be bilingual. They could learn English. Parents can learn English, and they blend in our society. You got to remember, in America, English is a national language unofficially, and everybody must know that.
Thank you. That's all the questions we have from the audience, but since we have a little extra time, I'm going to give each of the candidates up to 1 minute to talk about either follow up on one of the issues that came up in the questions or, I'm sorry, or to address some other issue. Just a minute, please. All right, we're going to have one more question then. Please give your name and address.
I'll just hold it. My name is Sonia Washington, and I live at 5015 Courtside Drive in Irving, Texas. My question to the candidates is that recently at MacArthur High School, one of the athletic clubs was not able to participate in a well-earned state competition due to monetary shortfall. What will you be able to do to make sure, being a former athlete as myself in wheelchair basketball sports, making sure that the students that do have the opportunity to participate in those types of events get there, we have the money available in the district to support those type of activities?
We're going to start with Mr. Mali.
I would like to encourage the students to take the part in the sports, but my focus is more on education, and if they are making the grades, they can participate in the sports, and that's what I would say.
Mr. Priolo.
Well, one of the things that I want to do is I want to have a dialogue with the businesses in the community. I talked to the athletics department about an idea that I have, and the idea is very simple. In Las Colinas and Valley Ranch, we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies. Why not simply ask some of those companies if they would be willing to donate $1,000 a year into the athletics program to fund athletic participation if the schools make it to the playoffs. The fund would just continuously grow until it's needed. But when it's needed, it allows the athletics department to put the students up in the hotels, give them the per diem that they need so that they can eat and participate and not have a worry. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to give each candidate 1 minute to follow up on any issues or to address any other issue that you would like to. And we are going to start with Mr. Priolo.
I have a few ideas about what I want to do, what I want to get accomplished with the district. One of the main things I want to do is I want to start a homework hotline. Homework hotline is simply this. You have an instructor be available to students. Students will call in on the call-in line, and they would get the help with their homework, because in today's society, a lot of our students, when they get to a certain grade level, have really outmatched the education of their parents. So they can't get help from home anymore. So if they can't get help from home, where do they get the help? Well, they can come in for tutoring and all that other type of stuff, but I see that that's not necessarily taking place. Maybe they catch the school bus and they can't get there at 7 o'clock in the morning. They can't get there earlier than the school bus. So this will allow an opportunity that they can have access to instructional activity after the school day is done. Thank you.
Mr. Mali.
School district has a program that allows district to inform parent of the issues in English, and the parent can read that a message in any language they choose. They can reply that question in any language they choose, and the school district can read that answer in English. To me, this is a very, very wonderful tool we have, and I would like to implement that a little bit more, so that this way more and more families can understand that, hey, this is available to us, and we should take advantage of this. This is a technology era, and we really want to take advantage of the IT system available to us, and we should be benefiting from that. That's what I will be promoting.
Thank you. Thank you to the audience for your questions, and let's show some appreciation to the candidates. Now, will the school board candidates please leave quickly and quietly? And we will have the City Council Place 4 candidates come up here and take your place. So we'll have the next session will be for City Council Place 4. The last session will be for City Council Places 6 and 8. So Place 4, please come up here. I think we're all set, so welcome back. For those of you who might have just joined us, please turn off your cell phones and refrain from texting. Thank you very much. We now have the candidates running for our City Council Place 4. This is a single-member district, and only the voters living in that district may vote for these candidates. The candidates from the audience left to right are David Gutierrez, Don Wilson, Joe Putnam, who is the incumbent, and Phil Riddle. We're going to let each candidate have up 1 minute to make an opening statement, and then we will have questions from the audience, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. Please remember that all candidates answer each question, and therefore your question should be of concern to all citizens and not directed to or about any particular candidate. I believe I have a list already of people who have signed up for questions, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Candidates, please be courteous, speak into your mic, and don't forget to turn off the mic when you're finished so we don't hear anything that you don't want us to hear. So now we'll have the opening statements of 1 minute each, and we'll start with David Gutierrez.
Residents of Irving and voters of District 4, it gives me a great pleasure to be here tonight and express my sincere gratitude to all my present and past supporters, to those that have stood with me through the bads and the goods, to all the people that I've met and have expressed their intent to support me, to help me, and cast their votes of confidence. I want to thank you very, very much. I served the Dallas County Commissioner's Court and as a Board of Trustee for Dallas County. It was a nomination by Dr. Elba Garcia. I've served 3 years, and I was again appointed by the Dallas County Commissioner's Court. Served 5 years with the Irving Health Board. I also initiated a survey in a homeless county in the city of Irving. I'm a former president for the Irving Sister Cities. I've reestablished the Irving Hispanic Chamber of Commerce almost back in 2002 with 7 people. And it is what it is today, and I'm very proud of it. I'm also have 21 years of military history. I'm a retired military from Marine Corps to National Guard, Texas Army National Guard. Bachelor's degree as well. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Don Wilson, and I am running for the City Council Place 4. I'm a lifelong citizen of the city of Irving, grew up here, raised my family here, met the love of my life here, and we have raised our family who have gone through the Irving public school systems. I believe that we have received enough promises about District 4 and that it is now time to actually see some results taking place in District 4. I believe that it's time for us to see the economic redevelopment of the downtown area that we've been being promised for 12 to 14 years. I've personally attended 3 town hall meetings regarding that development, and I've seen nothing come from any of them. I believe that enough is enough of the old way of doing business, and that we need to be able to count on our council to see some action in South Irving. Thank you.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes, my name is Joe Putnam. I'm running for re-election this year because there are a number of important issues facing the city that affect South Irving. And I believe that I'm the best person to deal with those issues on behalf of South Irving. Two that come to mind are we're in the middle of developing a new comprehensive plan, which will be important. We also are in new city management with we have new management now for the past about 6 months. And we have continuity and stability, and we need to be able to continue that. And I think that I'm the best person to maintain the progress that we're making. We're going in the right direction, and we need to make sure we keep going in the right direction with respect to our city management. And I think I'm the best person to accomplish that. In addition to that, we need to make sure we avoid some of the mistakes of the past. And I think I'm the best person to make sure we don't do that. The fact is, I'll take my share of the 2 minutes, one second. The management of this city is significantly better than it was 3 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Putnam. Mr. Riddle?
I'm Phil Riddle, lifelong resident of the city, educated here. My family's been raised here, and they were educated here. I'm not politically motivated to run. I'm running because I believe that service is important to the people. People should be valued. Their opinions should be valued. Their rights to have those opinions should be valued. I want to see things done in this city that haven't been done over the past few years. I want to be the councilman that people can call when they have a problem, and I'll go talk to them. And we'll sit down. If I can't find the answer, we'll sit down with a staff member and we'll figure out an answer. We'll see what's going on. We'll correct what needs to be corrected, and we'll push this city down the road, and we'll try to restore it to the good days that have been in the past. There's good days ahead yet, but there's work to be done, and I want to be the one that helps do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask the people who have signed up to ask questions, please come down to the front rows. Manuel Benavides, Sarah Beckelman, Joy Quira, Carol Schlipak, Lee Lowry, and Sonia Washington. Come on down.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Manuel Benavides, and I've been a resident of Irving for over 42 years, and I live at 2108 Meadow Glen. I had a question, but I'm going to change it, and it's going to be very simple. As candidates for District 4, how well do you know this district? And also, what's the difference between District 4 and Place 4? That's the question for all four of you.
Okay, we're going to change the order a little bit and start with Mr. Wilson.
Good afternoon. I remember a few years back I spent a couple of hours in your living room with you discussing several of the issues of the city. The district versus place, in my opinion, is a matter of semantics. I use the word district on all of my material because the map that is put out by the city delineating where the different areas are, call them District 1, District 2, District 3, so forth. What was...
The other was, as a candidate, how well do you know the district you're running in, District 4?
As a candidate, I believe that I possibly know the District 4 as well or better than any of the other candidates. I have lived in Irving since 1950. I grew up, I have lived in District 4, all except 8 years of my life, which I spent in the military. And I was all over the world during that time period. But,
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Putnam?
Well, I think I know District 4, in South Irving, but District 4 in particular, better than anyone. I've been here 47 years, and during the entire time, I only lived on the north side of Shady Grove for about 5 years, and that was at the corner of Ballywood and Shady Grove. In addition to that, I've been heavily involved in South Irving issues and District 4 issues for the last 40 years. And I would venture to say I probably know more people in District 4 than anyone in this room, because I've talked to people on the phone for the last 40 years and have been involved. So I would really believe that I probably know District 4 better than anyone in this room.
Mr. Riddle?
I grew up in District 4. I knew the streets like the back of my hand. I knew the people that lived on the streets, and I knew the houses where they lived, and that's what I've known all my life was District 4. District 4 was Irving at one time. It's what made up the city, and that's where I grew up running on the streets and knowing the people and going to school. Also, during my time on the fire department, I served extensively down here in District 4. So I know the district, I know the area, I know where hydrants are, I know where the block splits are. I can tell you all that stuff about District 4. At one time, I knew it like the back of my hand. To me, the difference between district and place, district describes the area, and I think place 4 describes where you sit up here. Thanks.
Mr. Gutierrez?
I think my interpretation of knowing the District 4 is knowing the people. Because in District 4, we have a diversity of communities, cultures in this community. I think by knowing that, by knowing your district, is by knowing what the people's needs are, what they need, what their concerns are, and what we have to do in order to mend those. Yes, I know the streets as well because I've been going up and down the district. And my job also takes me throughout the different routes, the different streets, to know everything and anything there is to know about District 4. But I believe the most important thing is trying to understand the people that live in the district, communicating with them, bring them together, to come together to the table so we can, as a group, as a community, develop this community. This way we'll know what we need, what we can do, and what has to be done to bring this city up and moving forward. We need to be proactive, and the citizens of this city and the people that live in the district can do that. And that's what my district is. Now, what a district means, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Now we'll have Sarah Beckelman with the second question.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Beckelman, and I live at 2705 Pennington Street in Irving. My question is, what are your views on development in Irving as related to green initiatives such as clean air and clean water?
This time we'll start with Mr. Putnam.
Well, I think that, of course, we all are for development, and to the extent we can accomplish those goals, many of which are already prescribed by law anyway, I think it's a good thing. To what extent the city should impose requirements beyond federal and state law, I'm not sure. We'd have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Obviously, the Federal Clean Water Act deals with all of the water issues, and so there's not much for the city of Irving to do. The other issues, the green issues, are the ones that I think we can encourage, but I think you have to work with companies in order to strike the right balance between development and environmental issues.
Mr. Riddle?
I believe your companies have to have that mindset. I believe they're the ones that have to want to do that. Sure, we can encourage them. I think the city can take some initiative with city structures and with the things that we build, the things that we're responsible for. But I think as far as trying to get other companies to do that, they've got to be on board with that themselves. Somehow they have to be sold on that through maybe public opinion or just the fact that they would care about the environment.
Mr. Gutierrez?
I'm a very advocate person on having the initiatives that you call for. I think we have already, the state has already have some initiatives in trying to take care of the Clean Air Act by a lot of the motor vehicles that are old to either, if they're not able to come up to par or get registered through inspections and so forth. They've had some of that in the past where these vehicles need to be either removed from the roads in order for new programs to keep up with the clean air. The water system, I believe if that any place that we need new pipes, new water system, I think we need to take that initiative and be proactive about that.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you for the question. I am very pro-development, as I believe all of us up here are. I believe that it is important that we redevelop the South Irving area. I grew up here, and I love the way that we have the large lots, we have the big mature trees. Those are important to me. We have a lot of green spaces as the results of the actions of Mr. McDougall, and I believe that it is important that we focus our energies on correctly developing these areas. A friend of mine, Calvin Tillman, was a mayor of Dish, Texas, and he has a lot of issues in his area regarding clean air with the drilling issues that were there, benzene being released into the atmosphere. I believe that any development, whether it be through natural gas drilling or through regular construction, needs to be responsive to the needs and the safety of the people.
Thank you.
Thank
now
you.
We'll have question number 3 from Joy Kiera.
It's quark.
I'm sorry, Quirk? Quird? Like third?
No, quark, like a quark of fate.
Okay, Quirk.
Hi. My name is Joy Quirk, and I live at 250 Cumberland Circle in Valley Ranch. And I'd like my question addressed to everyone, including the 4 that are not on the podium yet. If you should be elected, what is your plan to enhance our fire and ambulance service?
Okay. We're going to start with Mr. Riddle.
That's a pretty easy one for me. I spent 32 and a half years working for that fire department. We need 4 guys on an engine. We need 4 guys on the companies. I've heard criticism that it makes the job easier. Folks, there's nothing easy about that job. Somebody's putting on 75 to 80 pounds of gear. They're going into a place where they've never been a lot of times in conditions where they can't see. With the mandate that the NFPA has, there's 2 people in and 2 people out, you need 4 people on a piece of equipment so that they can start a fire attack. We need to make sure that we apply for grant money if it's possible, where we can get 4 people on the engines and 4 people on the trucks. Station 1 in southeast part of town needs an ambulance. We need to make sure we get that funded to serve those people in the southeast part of town. I can tell you from my own experience at Station 1, there's an ambulance needs to be there. We can reduce response time by at least 1 to 2 minutes down there.
Mr. Gutierrez?
Of course, the safety of the citizens and the residents of Irving is number 1, and I think I will always support and help and do whatever I can for our fire department and police department to have any kind of resources to keep up with the demand that is needed with the city of Irving. If we need to build some more, we have one already that's being built, but that is because we have new developments coming up, and that also helps the insurance, the lower of insurance as well to the homeowners as well. Once the fire departments are developed, then the insurance goes down. So it is a very good benefit just to also keep focus and keep our fire department and also our police department active and be able to be there for them whenever they need us.
Mr. Wilson?
I believe that you're going to get basically the same answer from all 4 individuals here. I'm going to try to make mine somewhat different. I believe that safety of the citizens of Irving is one of the most important things that can be considered. If you look across the street at the Founders Plaza, there's a sign that I believe tells the whole story. Irving, Texas, where the people make the difference. It is the people of this town and their safety that the council needs to be concerned with. If that be through enhanced police protection, that's where it needs to be. If it's through enhanced fire department protection, that's what we need to do. I believe that the current council has made a good decision in creating Station 12 in the Las Colinas area. I was at the Valley Ranch meeting last evening, their association meeting, and it was mentioned that there might even be need for one additional station there, which I would highly support. So that would be my answer.
Mr.
One of the
Putnam?
things that has, occurred while I've been on the council this last time is that with the change in city management, we have selected a permanent fire chief named Victor Connolly, and Victor, in my view, is doing a good job and was a good choice. And he has a very well thought out, aggressive plan for the development of fire services. And it just comes down to how much you can afford to do every year. But one of the things we have done is last council meeting, we authorized the funding of the ambulance at Station 1, which I'd supported back in the budget. And we've also have money in this year's bond program to buy land for Station 12, and we're going to fund the equipment and the personnel through a grant. And also, we're in the process of developing a fire and police training area on 161. And so I think we're moving ahead expeditiously with what we can afford to do, and I think there is a good plan in place.
Thank you. For
Thank
the
you
next
for your
question,
answers.
we have Carol Schlepak.
Good evening. I'm Carol Schlipak, 4638 O'Connor Court in Irving. My question to you is, what is your view of the bill that is currently in the Texas legislature that would allow the legislature to void ordinances or other decisions passed by cities that they didn't approve of, or approve them if they did? Is that local control that we have always supported?
We'll start with Mr. Gutierrez.
Yes, but that's quite a bit of a question. Could you say that again, please?
Well, there's a bill in the Texas legislature. If passed, the legislature could void decisions passed by the city of Irving that they did not approve of.
Right.
In the past, an ordinance passed by a city stood on its own.
Okay, I agree that the state has no business of how the city dictates its own business. I think we as a local business, a local government, should take care of our own, and that if anything that is an interference with the state, well, I believe the city can take care of that. But I don't think that there should be a bill that's going to dictate what the city does. That's the way I feel about that.
Mr. Wilson?
I believe you're referring to House Bill 40, is that correct?
If it's the bill that we're talking about, I just didn't write down the number.
House Bill 40, in my opinion, is a travesty. Local control is what our United States is all about. Yes, we have a federal government, a state government, but we allow for municipal government. And the government closest to the people is most responsive to the people, to their needs, and to their safety. Most of this came about, again, due to gas drilling. I have been chairman of the South Irving Property Owners Association, which was organized originally to help the citizens when they were being asked to sell their mineral rights to gas companies for $67 for a 5-year lease. I have urged through the South Irving Property Owners Association candidates for the last 5 years to make better and stronger regulations regarding gas drilling in our town. And
Thank you. Mr. Putnam?
I'll have a little advantage, Carol, and some of these other guys, but it's not House Bill 40. There's another bill, and I received a letter from one of the state senators asking for my opinion, and I gave it, but the short answer is Article 11, Section 5 of the Constitution says that we cities can adopt home rule charters, and the law always has been that we can do anything we want to do as long as it doesn't conflict with the statute of the legislature. Supreme Court has said, though, that if the legislature wants to preempt what we do locally, they have to do so with unmistakable clarity, which they have done on certain things, like utility regulation, like alcohol regulation, and things like that. What they ought to do is just leave the law like it is. If they don't like what we do, they can pass legislation that says what we're doing is wrong, but it has to be done with what the Supreme Court says is unmistakable clarity. So the legislation that's being proposed is bad legislation.
Mr. Riddle?
I find it peculiar that the people who scream about the federal government taking over state rights would want to take over city rights. It just doesn't balance to me. I think there are certain things that the federal government should be in charge of. There are certain things that the state government should oversee, and I believe cities should have the right to govern them, certain areas of themselves. I think it's a poor law. I'm certainly hoping that it gets voted down. I don't think it's anything that will help any city in this state.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5 will be from Lee Lowry.
Hello, I'm Lee Lowry at 512 South Jefferson Street and owner of the Jefferson Street Bed and Breakfast. I believe I understood that the consultants for the comprehensive plan Envision Irving cost Irving taxpayers nearly $1 million. Will you vote to quit spending money on out-of-town consultants and actually build something that improves South Irving and the Heritage District for the next 50 years?
Start with Mr. Wilson.
Lee, thank you for that. I think that I'm in agreement with you on the fact that our city has spent a lot of frivolous money in doing studies and trying to come up with a wonderful plan for the redevelopment of the downtown area. It's not that it is not good to get input from the individuals. However, I believe that we have had a lot of studies and no results.
Exactly.
I believe that, well, one of the things that I've talked to several local developers on is that they would like to see a change in the way that we send out bids and the way that we approve bids to give a weighted priority to local developers. And as it goes to state developers and out-of-state developers, that the weight goes down, and therefore we would increase our economy locally with the local developer. We'd have people that were in touch with our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Putnam.
Well, I don't know whether you're right about the number. You may be on what we're spending for the comprehensive plan. Do I think we waste money on consultants or spend money on consultants that we shouldn't have? Sure, but do we need consultants? We absolutely have to have consultants for a number of things to make the city work. Too often on some of these consultant contracts, the real problem with is the consultant wants to come back and tell the city council what they think the city council wants to hear. You know, they've got it just backwards. They have to come in with good science and good information and let the city council make the hard decision. We saw that in the Google process. We're $57 million in the hole because of that. I do believe that in terms of development, you have to have a market-based approach. And if we will go to a market-based approach on what's feasible and what is not, I think we'll come near getting the development that we really want than if we wait on consultants to tell us what they think we want to hear.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
I'm not sure how many studies you have to do to figure out what you want to do. But at some point in time, you need to take those studies, you need to lay them beside each other, I think, and glean from each study what works the best. And let's get busy and do it. If city staff is standing in the way of developers, I think we need to sit down and talk to them and see what it is that's going on. We need to let the developers do what they do best, and that's develop and build.
Mr. Gutierrez?
Well, I'm against a lot of spending. Of course, we've had some real bad issues in the past. I disagree with totally. I'm a small business owner, not a big one, but I'm still very conservative. I take initiatives, and I'm very conservative when I do my things. And I think the city can do the same thing too. We have to look at what we have, and also when we spend, to make sure that these taxpayers' monies are used wisely, because it belongs to the citizens of Irving. And I think we need to be accountable, we need to be transparent about it, we need to be intelligent about it, and wise enough to make these decisions that are coming to pass. Yes, I'm looking for developments right here in the south portion right here of Irving, downtown Heritage District. I've even been talking to, we lost 2 Barnes & Noble bookstores throughout the Metroplex. And they told me, it says, David, if we see that there's some good projects that are coming up, we can take in consideration and looking at it. I'm already looking
Thank you.
to make.
Thank you. Next question, Sonia Washington.
My question is in regards to the climate activity that we've had in Irving, as far as the earthquakes. Now, I know the council has been working on things to do some studies and look into what is actually going on as far as the fracking that's happening outside of our city. But I'm aware of that based on the fact that I attended the Valley Ranch forum last night. But as an Irving resident and friends of Irving residents, we're unaware of those things. So what will you do with the mayor to get that information out to the citizens that we are currently working on to try to find out what is going on and what rights do we have as a city to stop those things or look out for our future here, because my home has cracks in it, and I know that there's several of the residents of Irving that is concerned about those things. So I'm looking for the exposure in terms of the knowledge of the residents knowing and putting themselves at ease that the city council is doing something to address this issue.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Putnam.
I don't know how the answer in order to get information to folks. It works a little both ways. A lot of the information that citizens receive comes from the Dallas Morning News, and most stories end up there, but many citizens don't take that newspaper, so they wouldn't have any way to get the information. We have the city spectrum that provides some information. Not every citizen gets that information. We have ICTN, which I think could do a better job of getting information out to citizens than it does, and that's a goal I have, is to try to really restore ICTN to what it was maybe 20 years ago in terms of communicating with citizens. But not everyone, would subscribe. So there's no real answer in terms of having city councils deliver information because it works both ways. Citizens, need to subscribe to the information vehicles, and
Thank you. Mr. Riddle.
I'm not sure there is a flat answer as to how to get information to people. People have to want sometimes to seek out that information. I think you could go to the city website. Maybe we could post something there so that people that want to know, they could go to the website and look it up. We could have a notice about what's going on with the studies, with what the SMU people and possibly the geological services are looking at. I do think that we need to sit down with Dallas, Farmers Branch, Coppell, Grand Prairie, Grapevine, Fort Worth, everybody that has a fault line that we share, DFW Airport, and we need to make sure that we're sitting down with them and we're all in agreement with what activities can take place and what activities ought to be ceased. Okay?
Mr. Gutierrez?
One of the things that I'm looking at and want to do is monthly district meetings, community meetings. And these meetings are set for those particular reasons. So people can be aware of what the city is doing. Any questions that you want, that you need, answered, whatever, these community meetings, I feel they're very important. It put transparency in focus, let the people know what's going on. But I echo some of the things that my candidates have asked, but I would wait right now also before I would make any decisions of anything, of all the reports that are out there, and be able to make a decision based on those reports before we move on forward. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
There are a number of issues that come before the city periodically that information needs to be disseminated to the public. The most recent, as was mentioned by Ms. Washington, is the decision about the gas drilling and what effect it might have on earthquakes that we've been experiencing here in Irving. It was a study of the Azle area, but the conclusions are similar. I believe that as long as we have the Railroad Commission watching the hen house, chickens will continue to die. The reality is our current council in this last budget year reduced the budget for the ICTN. It makes it much more difficult for them to communicate with us. I believe that the City Spectrum is a wonderful document. I don't know how many people actually read it, but we need to restore ICTN to what it was previously. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? I'm going to give each candidate 1 minute to follow up on any issue or address any issue that hasn't been raised. And I'm going to just start with Mr. Riddle and go audience right to left to Mr. Gutierrez. 1 minute each. Mr. Riddle.
Thank you. I want to say thanks for being here tonight, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for putting this on. I know it's something that they do every year, and it hopefully it's informative, and maybe it gives y'all something to do on a Wednesday night when televisions are not real good. But thanks for coming. I would love to have the opportunity to serve not just the citizens of District 4, but the citizens of City of Irving. I know the needs. I've seen the needs of the city probably from a different perspective than some of the other candidates because I've actually been in the homes of the people. I've helped them in times of emergencies, and I've been here in the middle of it. I've seen the city from when I was just a boy, and it's been an incredible thing to witness the growth of this city and where it's come from, and I think where it's going to be going. And I would love to be a part of that, and I would love to have your trust and your vote on May the 9th. I'm number 4 for District 4.
Mr. Putnam?
Well, I'll start with where I left off on the opening statement. The management of the city, the overall management has significantly improved in the last 3 years compared to where it was 3 years ago. We have a new city manager, a new fire chief, employee morale is higher, city finances are in better shape, property values are rising. We're able to do some things that we haven't done in years. And I don't want to give Brad and Tom, and I see Oscar out there, any more credit than I'm going to take, but I think it's because the city council has worked well together to establish make sure we have the management we have today. And I really think that I'm the best person at this time to stay on the council to make sure we keep going in the direction we've been going.
Mr. Wilson?
I want each and every one of you to vote for Don Wilson on May 9th, or with early voting beginning next Monday, April 27th. It's interesting to me that Mr. Putnam has mentioned several times the new management, and how great it is. Joe Putnam was the sole vote against the hiring of the new city manager.
Mr. Wilson, normally we do not allow references to your opponents. Thank you.
It's his record I'm referring to.
Do you have anything else to say?
I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez?
This community is now compromised, like I mentioned earlier, of different cultures now. And we need somebody with experiences in diversity. We need people that are able to understand the community. We need people that can bring the community together. And I am that person. I just finished 3 years working for Dallas County with Metro Care Services, also helping and getting involved with Dallas County residents as well. And it was a nomination by Dr. Elba Garcia and, of course, appointed by the Dallas Commissioner's Court. And I was served for 3 years. And through those 3 years, I also served well, and I'm proud that I did because it gave me the experience that I need to serve this community as well. My military, my living here, my everything that I got and how I care for Irving makes me the candidate that's going to make this city move forward into the future. I want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Thanks again to the audience for your questions and to all the candidates. Now we're going to ask the place 4 candidates to leave the platform, and we would like the candidates for City Council places 6 and 8 to please come forward and take your place. Welcome back, everybody. I think we have our 4 candidates here. Again, for those of you who have just come in, please turn off your cell phones and refrain from texting. In this session, we're going to have the candidates for City Council Place 6 and City Council Place 8. Place 6 is a single-member district. Only voters living in that district may vote for these candidates, and they are Brad Lamorges and William Bill Mahoney. And the candidates for Place 8, which is an at-large district, are Tom Spink and David Palmer. Okay, so we're going to start by letting each candidate have 1 minute for opening remarks, and then we'll go to the questions from the audience. So we're going to start with Mr. Lamorges.
Hi, I'm Brad Lamorges. I'm running for re-election to District 6 City Council, which is far north Irving, encompasses Valley Ranch and Hackberry. I've been serving on the council for 3 years, been chair of the Transportation Natural Resource Committee, a member of Planning and Development, a member of the Public Safety Committee, a member of the Ethics Committee, various other things. I've been a very hardworking city council member for District 6 and for you. I've also been endorsed by the Irving Professional Firefighters, endorsed by the Metro Texas Association of Realtors, and various others. I ran originally to get Irving's financial situation straight. You remember where we were 3 years ago on negative credit watch. We're off negative credit watch, I'm proud to say, with the hard work of the council and city staff. Also been running for strong city services, more funding for streets and sidewalks, and the kind of development that you've wanted, like Whole Foods, which I was proud to cast a yes vote for. So I ask for your vote for re-election.
Mr. Mahoney?
I am Bill Mahoney. I am running for Irving City Council, District 6. I previously, a little bit about my background, I spent 22 years in the Army and Army Reserve. I served in Desert Storm and served in Bosnia. In Bosnia, I served as the legal advisor to the Election Commission. I retired from the Army as a captain about 5 years ago. I'm in the retired reserve now, which apparently till I get to 60, I get to be in the retired reserve. I'm a founding partner of the Irving-based law firm of Boatler, Mahoney & Gray. I graduated from Texas Tech, undergrad in '93 and School of Law in 1996. Previously in the city of Irving, I served 6 years on the Buildings and Standards Commission. I think a lot of you may remember about 10 years ago we had a problem with rundown apartment buildings. I was part of the commission that helped get all of those problems either eliminated or resolved. I also served as a founding member of the Green Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Spink, and also forgot to remind the candidates to turn your mics off after you speak. Thank you. Mr. Spink.
I want to thank the citizens of Irving for allowing me to serve this council with the other 8 members. I also want to thank Joe Phillip for teaching us that to serve on this council is not an individual accomplishment, but that of a team. The most important considerations we provide our citizens is a safe city, a AAA bond rating, only one of 6 cities in Texas, and by providing the necessary and deserved services you need. During this time, we were able to earn the prestigious Malcolm Baldrige Award for quality, safety, and management practices. Irving's committee assigned for this evaluation consisted of our staff, our employees, the mayor, Gerald Ferris, Brad Lamorges, and myself. Beth pointed out at the State of the City address, January 28th, that for the first time the school board, the chamber, ICVB, leading Irving businesses, along with the council, are working together for economic development. In fact, during the next 12 months, we are working on 4 major corporate relocations that will develop 152 acres and 15,000 jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer.
Thanks. My name is David Palmer, and I'm running for Place 8 at large. I'm here to ask you for your vote. My wife and I have lived here over 20 years, moved here in '93. I've worked here since, 1994. So, long time property owner, own our home, our business in Las Colinas. Been engaged in the community, engaged in it through PTA, through YMCA, through Boy Scouts, many years. Apart from my service to the city, I've got strong and proven leadership. I've got 20-year history of performance with high-performing teams in business. I've grown 2 businesses. Our current business was in the Dallas 100 and in the Aggie 100 fastest-growing companies in 2012. I'm here tonight to ask you to vote for me, my service, out of a sense of service. Thanks.
Thank you. For the questions, I'm going to ask if the same people who asked questions in the previous session for Place 4 would like to come forward and ask questions. Manuel Benavides, Sarah Beckelman, Joy Quirk, Carol Schlipak, Lee Lowry, Sonia Washington, and also we have a question from, as soon as I can find it. I can't remember. I think his last name was Bach. There we go. Gabriel Bach. If you would please come forward to the front rows. As they're coming forward, I think what I want to do for candidate speaking order is alternate which place speaks first and which candidate speaks first, and that really turns out to we just went right to left, audience right to left, we'll go left to right and then right to left, so I don't get too confused, if that's okay with the candidates. Okay, first question, Mr. Benavides, would you like to ask a question? Not this time? Okay, Sarah Beckelman.
Hello, my name is Sarah Beckelman, and I live at 2705 Pennington Street in Irving. And my question is, what are your views on development in Irving as related to green initiatives? I do know that especially clean air and clean water. I want everybody to answer the same question. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Palmer?
Yes, thanks for the question. I think there's a number of things that we can do and that the city can do. For example, water conservation. I believe the city's got a license for about 25 million gallons of holding water retention tanks, for example, that could be potentially looked at. Installation with the Highway 183 expansion happening, perhaps underground, that would hold water that can then be used for, for example, irrigation of city property. I think there's a lot that could be done for just recycling program in the city. I'm an avid recycler at home and in our business. And, probably at home now, I've got a 2-to-1 ratio of recycling to trash. And so I think city could make more effort into that area as development occurs, and encourage developers to use newer technology, and particularly as we replace infrastructure.
Mr. Spink?
Sarah, that's a good question. We were in today talking with Moody's and Standard & Poor's on our ratings, and came up about the use of water and how new appliances and new equipment has saved so much water. Our water usage is actually, Sarah, going down instead of up. So all of these green initiatives, LEED certified, all of those things are of wonderful value to us for ecological benefits, for our health, and goodness knows our health is so important. It's the most important thing we have. So I think you're absolutely correct. We have to look forward, and these have got to be very important issues. Sarah, thank you for the question.
Mr. Mahoney?
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. One of the things we need to talk about is leadership. The city, through the past 5 years, has made huge strides in the area of green initiatives, especially clean air and clean water, and that's since the development of the Green Advisory Committee that I mentioned I was a founding member of. One of the staff members that has chaired that committee or been involved with that committee since the beginning was Ramiro Lopez, who's now one of the assistant city managers. So I know that city staff is going to support green initiatives going forward in development and throughout the process of city management. The important thing is for the people on this dais, the city council, to get the message out that we will not tolerate developments that don't have some type of green component to them. The leadership comes from here. We have to demand it. And I know that through buildings and standards, when we set the tone of what we wanted the apartment buildings and the city to look like, the developers responded. They did what was necessary because they knew these people were going to demand it, and that's what we need as city council to demand the leadership of green initiatives.
Mr. Lamorja?
Well, clean air, right up your alley, plant more trees is one of the things we can do. We have looked, and it's probably longer than a minute conversation, but we had a vote not too long ago about a water initiative to keep the groundwater from being contaminated. We have to look at what businesses come in. I think that one was an old dry cleaner from the 40s or 50s. You have to be very careful about that. And when we do development, we have to think about those things, and I think you're seeing a lot more of that as an intelligent look at development on how, because ultimately, thank goodness, our lake is only about a foot down now thanks to all this rain. It's been one of the good things that's come out of it. But we've been doing conservation on water. We've been very careful about our water quality, and I think you're going to see a higher demand for that because water is a scarce resource. So,
Thank you. Next question, Joy Quirk.
I'm Joy Quirk, and I live at 250 Cumberland Circle in Valley Ranch. I've been there 25 years. And if you, addressing all of you, if you should be elected, what plans do you have to enhance the ambulance and our fire? As I'm getting older, that's getting a little bit more importance to me. Thank you.
Mr. Lamorja?
So this past year, we authorized the purchase of the land for Station 12, which will be at Olympus and LBJ. We applied for a grant for about $4 million worth of firefighters. That station was planned in the 1980s, went to bond twice, and never happened. So we were proud on council to champion that project and move it forward. It will put District 6 in an 8-minute response time for a fire, and I insist that that gets done. We keep it on track. It'll be done in 2016. We're also moving forward on the Irving Fire Training Center so that Irving will be the place people come to do fire training rather than go elsewhere. And we've got various other needs. Station 13 was talked about, so I plan to continue to push for the fire service. And I think that's why I was endorsed by the Irving Professional Firefighters Association.
Mr. Mahoney?
I'm the type of person that doesn't like to hear campaign promises. I want to hear about campaign results. We have incumbents who are talking about how important the fire and the ambulance service is, when we all know that South Irving needs Medic 1 and needed Medic 1 2 or 3 years ago at an initial startup cost of about $800,000. Yet, over the last 2 years, the incumbent spent $550,000 on a pro tennis team that now plays their games in California. So we need to talk the talk, and we need to act like we need to act, and not just make campaign promises. We need to make sure that the money is for the essential services we need. Fire and ambulance services are an immediate and first priority above all else.
Mr. Spink?
Joy, that's one very important question as well, and fire is going to be our big force. You know, back in 2000, we wanted 4 men on a truck. Couldn't get it because of the cost. It's going to be a reality August of this next year, 4 men on a truck. But also we have a PPC rating, and we have obsolete fire equipment, Joy. If you're worried about what you haven't been worried about, be really worried now. But that is on the front burner right now to get that accomplished. We are going to take that PPC rating, as Brad stated, with a new burn tower and with all those new assets that we are going to put into this fire department, Station 12, 4-man staffing, we'll get our PPC rating changed from a 2, which was concerned to go to a 3 because of our lack of being able to get north fast enough. Now we'll be able to get there and get that rating to a 1, which is the highest rating you can get in the state.
Mr. Palmer?
Thanks. We've talked about this, and again, it'll echo, this 4 men on a truck has been something that's been an objective for a decade and a half now, and hadn't been able to occur. I think, should definitely occur, but everyone ought to understand that it's not just about a little campaign promise quip. It is a serious, probably at least 8 to 10 year horizon of budgeting how money comes and how it gets implemented. And incumbents did vote not to in the fall, when they could have, add Medic 1 in the budget. They chose not to because they wanted, more important, to be able to say they'd given a tax cut. And then when Medic 1 becomes an issue at a forum 3 or 4 weeks ago, all of a sudden, baby, it's on the front burner. And so what you're going to get from me is honest, integrity, look at problems and figure out how to fix problems and not just, make a bunch of promises. Thank you.
Carol Schlepak, do you have a question for this group?
Well, I do. I want to add to my question. Carol Schlepak, 4638 O'Connor Court. We've only lived there 6 months, so if I missed some of the numbers, I'll get used to them. Okay. I mentioned earlier, and you probably heard about my asking about the bill in the legislature that would void any actions they wanted to by cities. But I wanted to mention 3 aspects. One, Denton, they work very, very hard, citizen action on the anti-fracking, just what we want in citizen government. They passed an ordinance. This could go banned by the Texas legislature if the bill is passed. Secondly, Dallas, they passed this anti-plastic bag ordinance. Apparently it's saving millions in dollars of picking up all those plastic bags everywhere that we want to be green and lovely, but they're plastic bags. Then today's front page article in the Dallas Morning News, the SMU study on earthquakes, all of this excess water from the fracking, et cetera, and the statement by a state official that, I can't ask these local people to give us figures like they had acquired. Well, what do you think about this in terms of citizen action, citizen control, state action, state omnipotence in terms of what's really good for the citizenry?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Well, I tell you what, I think I must have gone cuckoo or something, because we're supposed to have all this conservative leadership that got elected, and I mean, like a lynching, right? I mean, all this, the people that were in there hadn't eaten enough red meat before, so now we've got to get this ultra-conservative in, and there's nothing conservative about the premise of taking this and stripping away these local control powers. We want to have questions about earthquakes and what to do. Well, if we get together with a bunch of different cities and talk about what we should do, the answer is nothing. because you just allowed everything to be stripped away from your right to do anything about it. Because they apparently, what really amounts to people who got elected by about 5% of the vote, now with the mandate, they must be smarter than us to be able to make these decisions.
8%.
Yeah.
We had in Irving.
Than what we can make right here. So I'm against it and appalled by it.
Mr. Spink.
Carol, certainly I would oppose that and do oppose that. However, you can't do much about it other than try and make an issue of it and fight back legally how you can fight back. And I'm sure we will do that. With regard to the earthquake issue, and I heard this before about questions why aren't the citizens. Let me tell you, the one reason you vote us up here, whoever you vote up here, if you have a question that you want to get answered about what's going on in the city, call us. Pick up the telephone. My number is 972-554-1300. If I don't have the answer, I'll know where to go to get it, and I'll give you all the information you ever wanted to know about that subject. Maybe it won't be what you want to hear, but we'll get down to the bottom of it. That's what you elected us for.
Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you, Carol. Great question. I think local control is essential. Austin doesn't know what everybody needs in every city throughout the state. Next, they're going to start talking about how we do our zoning, and we know that that's just not acceptable because we have different zoning than Dallas does, than Fort Worth does. What I find most appalling is the city has a legislative agenda. We go down and advocate to our representatives in the state representatives on the issues we want to discuss. This was one of the issues that we wanted to discuss with them, that was that local control be maintained. 3 weeks ago, this city council spent an entire night of its August time talking about a House bill that was never on our legislative agenda and wasted our time when they could have been passing a House bill resolution about this subject, this very subject. They could have said they oppose this House bill, but instead they wasted time on a House bill that did nothing for the city.
Mr. Lamorgia.
So the short answer is I very much favor local control. In the example of a gas well, for instance, do you want that in your backyard literally? No. I think there are appropriate places where people would welcome that, and I think it's really up to the municipality. Rather than make a big issue out of it or be very public about it, what I did was pick up the phone and call my representative and call my state senator to express my opinion against these bills that would limit local control. So I don't think you have to be necessarily a showboat to get your point across. And in fact, when we called Senator Huffines, one of the bills dropped off. So I think it had good input. I think you do it professionally. I think you do it with a collegial spirit and make sure you extend friendship to our representatives to not do that kind of thing.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Next question, Lee Lowry.
Thank you. I'm Lee Lowry, live at 512 South Jefferson Street. Kind of a two-part question, but one of the things is some of the things we want done aren't getting done. So would you quit voting to pay exorbitant amounts to all these out-of-town consultants to do studies and planning? I believe city staff should do those activities because they know Irving. The second part is, what action will you take to immediately build something in the Heritage District that will improve infrastructure and provide Arts Center 2 with a performance hall and museum? Thank you.
Mr. Lamorgia.
So I would disagree with the premises that we've paid exorbitant amounts, and in fact, in the last 3 years, we've reduced the amounts that we paid consultants. That was something that was important to us, and we went about that issue of reducing it. One good example I'll give you is a study we did by Fries and Nichols on our future water supply, which is very near and dear to me on transportation natural resources, and securing Irving's water independence and water future. We're one of the few cities that has our own water supply. We've been led down a couple roads as to where we might go for water. I think we need to keep our options open. We finally got a survey that's going to tell us how much it's going to cost to each place to go get water. and how economically efficient we'll be. So pretty excited about that survey. It will save us way more than it's cost, and the city staff has told us they weren't, that's not their competency. They're not all engineers to do that, and they asked for that, so we're going to do that and get our water sources.
Mr. Mahoney?
I'm actually going to agree with Brad that there are certain things that you do need a consultant for, but the economic development of our city is not one of them. The lovely Ms. Saponte and my wife Tanya are going to hand around some flyers that discuss a potential new project for this city called Destination Irving. I'm sorry, they've been told they can't hand it out in chambers, so we'll have these back here. We're going to talk about Destination Irving, a cooperative project with the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce and city staff are perfectly able to talk about and plan the developments of our future. And that is to make destinations. We need to make places that people will come. I have a quote from Maura Gast, our ICVB president. Build a place where people want to live, and you'll build a place people want to visit. And that's the type of developments that we need, but it needs to be part of our comprehensive plan, and it needs to be a unified effort that we can do through the ICVB, the Chamber of Commerce, and city staff.
Mr. Spink?
Lee, I can certainly feel your frustration. Spending the last 6 years in the council, I can see the monies that have been paid out to consultants, and I know how frustrating it must seem. And being chair of audit and finance, I'll guarantee you it is really, it bugs you when you see the money being spent for consultants when we should be able to do a lot of these things ourselves. Believe me, it is changing. It's taking time. There are times we do need consultants. But I do believe that we have seen so much in the past that was not well done that it makes us really shudder every time we see a consultant on track right now. But Lee, we're working on it, and I hope we get it better and get it right. Thank you for your question, Lee Lowry.
Thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Well, I agree that comments said earlier, and I do think there is need for consultants. I'm a little bit familiar with this firm that's doing the Imagine Irving or comprehensive plan, and I was exposed to a lot of professionals that do the planning, and they do bring valuable insight to the table and ways to look at how to plan the community. And specifically, what I think in South Irving is it is prime time to be developing a transit-oriented development around the TRE station. And here's a bad word, apartments. It's going to take dense residential around that development, and I think it'll accomplish exactly what was referred to earlier. Make it a nice place to live, makes a nice place to work, makes a nice place to play. That's ultimately what we're all looking for in a city. And so I think that's the critical thing to get started on now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next question is from Sonia Washington.
Sonia Washington. I have 20 years in banking and financial lending experience, originally starting in '97 in the Irving area. I have watched competitors come in the last 5 years and not even maybe consider Irving, I don't know the inside, but actually open operating centers as far as servicing centers, call centers, major banks in Plano, Louisville, and have not brought that business to Irving. I understand that we have 4, companies that are looking to come here, but what can we do as a city council to stop that? It used to be we were the place to come and start up an operation in that format here in Irving, and now we have Metroplex citizens driving around Irving or through Irving to go to work and go to Plano and Louisville, and we're losing those revenue dollars. So I'm saying, how are we going to do this? And these are not small servicing centers. These are 500 to 1,000 seat servicing centers for major banks. So I would like to hear from each candidate on what they're going to do to kind of stop that process or what they have done.
Mr. Palmer?
Well, and I appreciate what you're saying, that not every company exactly selects to come here. Some make decisions for other reasons. But I'm telling you, what I believe is we've got the best location here in the country. Businesses locate here and look to locate here because of that location. And I don't think that we have to be giving necessarily always millions and tens of millions of dollars of giveaways and incentives to them for them to locate here. I saw some numbers the other day that right now, like the vacancy rate here, real estate is like the second lowest in the Metroplex. I want to say it was, my recollection, about 17% vacancy, which is the lowest it's been in probably at least 8 or 10 years. And I'm not a real estate expert, but a number of companies do locate here, and I think we continue to try to work with our chamber to do a great job of marketing our location to entities.
Mr. Spink?
Would you repeat your name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sonia Washington.
Okay, Sonia, thank you. And were you referring strictly to that type of business, just servicing banks?
Well, and I need to refrain as far as examples of banks, but I've been in the financial lending for and since '96, and managing call centers for major banks. And I have seen at least 3 that have gone to Louisville and Plano. And when I first started in the business, they would come here first. This was the place to actually land their feet. And Mr. Palmer said that, our office space is low. That could be an issue, but how can we correct that too? Because they are driving through Irving to get to these other cities to work.
Okay, I'm not sure I can fully answer that question, but I can tell you one thing, being in the banking business for over 40 years, a lot of reasons the banks don't come here is because we have so many Fortune 500 companies, and the smaller banks, the community banks, the 500 to $2 billion banks can't cut that type of business. So they go to Carrollton and they go to other cities that have smaller type businesses that they can address. But I don't know why they wouldn't want to come to Irving, because I guarantee you this is a great place to do business, and it's got the great location. So I guess we'll just have to do a better job trying to get this done, Ms. Washington. I don't know.
Mr. Mahoney?
Business retention is a round-the-year, continuous job for city staff and the Chamber of Commerce. It's just something that we have to deal with. You just try to get more in than you lose, but you're going to have transplants both in and out, and you just need to do the best job you can to get the ones that provide the greatest tax value to the city. And part of that is to make it a vibrant city that people want to come to, and that's part of what I was talking about. Make it a destination. If the employees want to come here, then the companies will come here. And if there's places for them to live and have fun and live their life where they don't have to go to Dallas or they don't have to go to Southlake to go to a nice store or to go to a nice dinner, they can do those things here. It's going to bring better companies, and we can get that vacancy rate down to 5% or 8%, some lower number. And that may involve banking systems, but it may involve other tenants that possibly provide a better tax value.
Mr. Lamarja?
Well, let's see if we can add banks to the mix of what we've been adding, which is the national headquarters for 7-Eleven is coming to District 6. Envoy Air, American Eagle is coming to Irving. We were rated the fastest growing mid-sized city in the country, I think, last year by one publication, at building and permitting up. I was talking to the Chamber of Commerce today, and I guess we're the second hottest office space in the Metroplex. So things are coming. It's exciting. With adding these kind of things, the high-paying jobs, you have the additions of places like Whole Foods coming to Irving, which is all we heard about 3 years ago. Was proud to cast a yes vote for that. You got various other things coming. You've got an expanded Kroger. You've got all those things we've been doing that I think will attract additional corporate tenants, and they're very excited to come here, talking with the 7-Eleven folks.
Okay, the last question will be from Gabriel Bach.
The last and the best. My name is Gabriel Bach, North Lake College. As some of you know, North Lake College is a very diverse community, maybe as diverse as one of your zip codes, and I guess you know which zip code it is in Irving. A few weeks ago, my students attended a city council meeting here, and they came back from the council, some of them appalled, some of them puzzled, some of them surprised, and some of them embarrassed. So my question to you is the following. What will you do to improve the relations with the Muslim population in view of what happened a few weeks ago here at City Hall? Thank you.
We'll start with Mr. Lamarja.
Well, I obviously was at that meeting. The vote, I think it was unfortunate that people took the opportunity to try to divide Irving. The vote was about a family code matter, whether we would have foreign laws that could violate the Constitution. So that's what we actually voted on. I think you've got to conduct yourself with the right demeanor. You heard my remarks. I think you heard who were the divisive remarks that night. I will stand for the Constitution every time it's up for a vote. I took an oath to uphold it, and I think it was important. Despite any pressure, I think people use it as a political opportunity. The reach out is to educate everybody that we're all under U.S. law, we're all under Texas law, and even Irving ordinance. So I think we do need to reach out and probably do a better job with education about it. But to me, that should have passed 9-0 without a big fuss.
Mr. Mahoney?
I think I've made my position fairly clear about the vote 3 weeks ago. I think it was appalling that it was even time spent on the issue. There was the House bill itself does not pick out a specific ethnicity, but it was the CNN interviews and the other interviews that went along with it and the Facebook posts that went along with it that it was clear what the issue was that was being brought forth. We need to embrace the Muslims. We need to embrace all ethnic groups. Irving is a very diverse population, and it's important that it stay a diverse population. The educated workforce that we bring in is important for those corporate relocations that we're talking about and we want. And we need to make sure that we have a stable city council and that we're not out there grandstanding that might affect 1 or 2 or 3 ethnic groups. We need to be embracing everybody, and I think there's possibly some looking into for a multicultural center here in Irving. I think that would be a good outreach to those communities that might feel offended.
Mr. Spink?
Yeah, I agree with Brad. I think the vote should have been 9-0. I don't see anything that was attacking any religion or sect of the society. I think we can always do a better job communicating. We're not communicating apparently on earthquakes and anything else. But, you know, communication is very important. It's very important in 2 ways. But number one priority that we see is we look at our constituents. There are 9 members on that council, not 4, not 3, not 1, but 9. And that vote was 5-4. So it was not a matter of anybody picking or grandstanding. It's a matter of those were the issues the constituency stood for, and we voted for that passage.
Mr. Palmer?
Well, I've spoken on this before too, and I think the short answer is that I feel like it was really unfortunate the city got involved in it the way they did, and really unfortunate the way they pursued it and, you know, brought it to a vote without really, you know, looking into it more to see how to approach this with some sensitivity towards other people in our community, because the way it came out and the way it was framed, it was potentially exactly pitting 2 parts of our city against one another. It was pitting citizen against citizen. And there's just no other way to explain it. And the way this law works, I mean, you know, listen, maybe people forget, you know, Christ wasn't born in Texas or in America, by the way. And so if we have now an agreement that says we're going to pursue Christian-based mediation, well, is that illegal? So, I'm sorry.
Thank you, candidates. We're going to wrap this up by letting each of you have 1 minute to either follow up on an issue or address some issue that we haven't talked about already. We'll start with Mr. Palmer and go audience right to left. You have 1 minute each.
Well, I'd just like to follow up with really kind of my opening and give you a last pitch. I think I'm the better qualified candidate. I think I have the best skill set and mindset for where this city needs to go, where we are now, and where we need to go in the future. I mean, I firmly believe that. I've gotten the education, formal education, which is credible and verifiable. I have worked hard in the city, doing stuff on a volunteer basis, not for any kind of financial interest. I spent 15, 16 years with Boy Scouts. Three young men as Eagle Scouts and another two who weren't my sons gracious enough to call me a mentor. I have been engaged in the community across the spectrum of it for the 21 years I've lived here in Irving, and so I believe that qualifies me and would ask for your vote.
Mr. Spink?
I want to thank the League of Irving Women Voters for this conference and forum, but I'd like to go back to the State of the City remark when Beth made the announcement that for the first time the school board and the ICVB and the Chamber of Commerce and leading Irving businesses were now working together to promote our economic development. And again, within the next year, we will have 4 major relocations of corporations, which will constitute 152 acres and 15,000 jobs. Therefore, I ask you to return me to this team to get those things done and make those accomplishments for the citizens and for the city. Thank you.
Mr. Mahoney?
I would like to ask everybody as you leave the chamber, apparently we weren't allowed to hand these out in the chambers. You leave the chamber, just pick up a flyer so that we can all start thinking about what we need Destination Irving to look like. There are a lot of areas for development, they're identified, and we need to make sure that all of the areas, South Irving, North Irving, One Irving, all Irving, is a place that people want to come. I am your candidate for experienced leadership, independent representation, and the future of Irving. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this candidate forum. I want to remind everybody that early voting starts on Monday. The hours are posted on the city's website, but if you want, you can pick up a card that has all of the early voting dates and times and places here within the city. You can actually vote anywhere within Dallas County during early voting, and I want to encourage everybody to get out and early vote. Thank you very much. Bill Mahoney, City Council, Place 6.
Mr. Lamorgia?
Brad Lamorgia, running for re-election to Place 6. I'll thank all of you first for the questions and for attending and being involved in the process. Thank you. Thank my wife and 2 children here for always supporting me, and I appreciate that very much. I'm running for re-election to keep us on the right financial track. You remember all the tens of millions the city was wasting, and we've corrected that. Also running for strong city services, been pushing for more streets and sidewalks in the budget, Irving's water future. We've been pushing for the fire service. Contrary to what was said here, we've been pushing hard for Medic 1. It was never in the budget originally, and I think they've mixed some budget cycles because that was a couple of years ago. Pushing hard for the fire service, and Medic 1 will be in the budget. We've also been pushing for the economic development you want, like Whole Foods, like Kroger on MacArthur and various other things. And I think I've been your representative and will continue to be your representative in District 6. Thank you.
Thanks again to the audience for your questions and to the candidates. Let's show them some appreciation. Thanks to ICTN and the sponsors, the City of Irving, Chambers of Commerce, Las Colinas Association. Remember, early voting starts April 27th. Get out there and vote. You can beat that 8%. And I think there will be a candidate meet and greet now for the ones of you who want to stay around. Good night.